What up, my people? Welcome to Teflon TV. I am your host, Don Tony Teflon, and today we are breaking down the second episode from Season 2 of Invasion, which is called Chasing Ghosts. I would like to thank everybody returning, watching this channel, and watching these videos, and all my new people who are into this show as much as I am. Before we get started, if you can, do me a favor, make sure you hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you like content like this, because we also do live streams on this show. Let's get it started. Now, we all know that there's a very famous ghost in the cartoon world named Casper, and that's what these people are actually tracing. When we talk about Jam or we talk about Trev, they're after Casper, trying to figure out exactly what happened to Casper, and that's what we get for this whole episode. Now, I know that a lot of people aren't going to be thrilled about this episode. The problem with season 1, I heard from a lot of people, is that the lack of action that was in there, and it just seemed boring at some times. And I think that they did do that in this episode. The action was not there that people expect from this show. It was more of a filler type show and more character building. Now, we have learned a lot about these characters, and we learned a little bit more when we pick up with Trev. We see him that he's back with his family. He's living a good life, it seems like, and we can see that now there are no supermarkets open. It's only rations given out by the government. And we see at the barbecue when his nephew does fall inside of the pool and he has to go in there and save his life and start beating on his chest. When his nephew finally does wake up, we see that he is suffering from PTSD due to everything that he's been through with his troops while he was out there in Afghanistan and everything that's going on with this alien invasion. And this is what eventually causes his sister to tell him that she cannot stay there any longer. That even though they had this mistake, and you could have probably said, listen, the guy's been suffering a lot, but for that reason is why he has to be set off from his sister's place. And I like this whole situation that they showed with the family and the dynamic that they put into it, but I can't understand why people would say they could have cut this down, shortened this plot, and moved his line forward a little bit faster than they did. This week's episode focuses between Jam and Trev, and I don't know if that's the plan going forward, that that's what they're going to do. They're only going to do 2 characters at a time, or the 2 groups of people at a time, instead of doing all 4 of them like they did last year. We'll see if that's the way they keep it up. But when dealing with Jam, she's getting a lot of visions sent to her about situations that she has not yet seen and does see later on in this episode, and she believes that it's Casper is the one that is sending her these messages, and for that reason she feels like she cannot just sit back home and live this mundane lifestyle, that she needs to go out there and find him for the betterment of everybody on the planet, because she's probably the only one in this show, except for Trev, which he just got around to it, that believes that Casper plays a major role. And obviously he does, because we've seen that he has some type of communication with these alien creatures, whether he's able to tap into the hive mind itself or take it over. We've seen in the past he got those creatures to stop. Now, you probably heard me say this before, but I don't believe that these creatures are totally evil. And I think that later on it's going to show that there's something else going on, whether it's another alien form that's worse than them and they're trying to protect themselves by coming to this planet, or actually protect the people of Earth from doing it. That's what I think is going to happen. And you might say, Tony Teflon, how are they trying to protect the people if they're killing the people? But there have been many wars fought that people have killed other people, and they said it was for the betterment of the country. All right, let's move on from that. After Trev goes into what appears to be some type of cyber library, and you're only limited a certain amount of time to get on the internet, he uses the book, the notebook that he got from Casper, to break a code. And this is what really triggers him. Again, his sister does kick him out the house, but triggers him to go out and try to figure out what's going on. Because why is he just going to sit back in there when he has a particular set of skills that can help the planet and this notebook of all this stuff that Casper left him? Why sit around inside of a house with his family doing that when he can truly go out there and help this planet. And I think that's what he comes to grips with, and that is the ultimate reason why he does leave. Jam goes out to London to try to get to the hospital, the last place where she knew that Casper was at. But while she's going there, she gets intercepted by some police officers who's just trying to clear out the neighborhood. And we see something different now, that there are these spores that are in the air. And he's told about the moon becoming red because they're running some type of tests on these spores, and I guess the spores make it hard for human to breathe, but make it good for the aliens to breathe. They eventually give her a gas mask so she can continue her trek in there. Now, the spores remind me a lot of the show Last of Us, or the video game Last of Us. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go check that out. But that's truly what it reminds me of when I hear about these spores. While in the hospital, Jam sees a body drawer where she believes that his body is going to be, but his body is not there. Then she finds a box of all this stuff, and she finds the cassette player that he used, that she was listening to on the bus before everything went apeshit and went bad and they fell off the hill and everything else. And this just gives her further motivation that she's on the right track of finding exactly what's going on, because now she sees that his body's not in there, so that means something is going on. He may not be dead. That's what gives her the strength to think Casper is still alive, because she does not see a body. And she has an idea that he's alive because of the images being sent to her. She believes that he is the one sending her all of these images. Trev decides to go about it on a different type of mission. He decides that when he gets stopped by these officers, that he is going to try to infiltrate exactly what's going on, because they blocked off the road for him to get to, but he doesn't know exactly why they blocked that road off. So what does he do? He decides to use his military background to try to infiltrate this base and figure out exactly what's going on inside of this base. After searching through the files in the hospital, Jam realizes that she thinks that Casper has been taken out of this country and into France. She then goes to a zone where she is back with the bus boys. All the bus boys are back together. She finds them and tries to recruit them to help her go and look for Casper. I mean, they seem to be his friends, so it seems obvious that they would be the ones to go with her. It would be a trek for a woman, especially her age, to go all the way out there by herself. But she gets some backup with these cats, because they do decide to go out there with her and help her try to help find Casper, because there's something going on with him, and that's what they're trying to get to the bottom of. So they gotta come up with a car to get there. So what do? They go to the rich little prick's house, because they know that his family is loaded. And when you look at the kid's family's cars, it's pretty obvious that the kid is loaded, and probably that is why he's there. But we do see a different side of him. We see him taking care of his little sister, staying in place. His sister is very traumatized about everything that's going on in this place because her parents are gone. But we see a different side, that he is still acting kind of dickish, and she calls him a wanker. She calls him on his little sister, but he then agrees because he's the only one who does know how to drive. After his sister convinces him that we have to go out and save our parents and make it safe for them to come back home, to take their father's car and go out on this mission. Back to Trev, and probably the most interesting thing that happened in this whole show. Again, the show was kind of slow. I'm not going to say that it's not. A lot of episodes last year were the exact same way, and I do believe that is why they lost a lot of viewership within 3 episodes of last year. But when you got to episodes 5, 6, and all that, I think it did pick up last year. After Trev does infiltrate this base and get inside, he goes inside of a certain section and he sees them doing experiments on some of these spores. But after he does the experiments on the spores, he gets bagged up and thrown in jail for it. So what are they experimenting on the spores with, and why are they doing that? That's where we're left, and that's basically how the episode ends. Again, I'm not going to give this a 10 out of a 10. I would say probably a 6.5 out of 10. And some of you might say I'm being extremely generous, but I seen how the flow was last year. So I'm used to this for this show. Again, I myself wish they would go a little bit faster and have some more action, but we do get some character buildings. We met a couple of new characters, and they have to build it up. I think that's just the way the show operates, the way these writers write. But you tell me in the comment section what you think. And if you like the way I do this, please thumbs up this video, spread this across the realm, and of course, subscribe. And until next time, we know who it is. Peace and stay sexy.